LaoLiesGuy, SideburnsZA, you both made good on your promise to put out a video last weekend. That is surprising, especially for you, SideburnsZA. You often make promises that you don't fulfill. Here are the two thumbnails and titles. First, we got LaoLiesGuy's China's economy is failing, and it is way worse than you thought. Then we have SideburnsZA's China's unstoppable corn raiders, crop stealing army. I'm going to make an exception and say a few words about both videos in this single reply. I'll start with your video, LaoLiesGuy, and then a few words about your video. I'm not going to forget about you, SideburnsZA.
All sources are in the description, and shout out to the people who helped with this analysis, as well as Shabby Chadwell, friend of the channel and international financial economist.
Did he say Shabby Chadwell? Is that right? Shabby Chadwell? I'm not sure if I heard that correctly.
China is shrinking. At first, I set out to make this video highlighting some of the indicators that would show that China's economy might be in bad shape. But before concluding my research, I had no idea how bad it actually was.
You actually did some research? This ought to be good.
Picture that old Chinese torture method, death by 1,000 cuts. Now picture an economy of a nation being lacerated from every single direction. The list of wounds is long, and they are impossible to ignore.
Death by 1,000 cuts. Okay, you must have a long list of wounds. Let's get to it.
I uncovered a huge propaganda campaign from China to push this idea of de-dollarization and BRICS. Economy-wise, there was a push to get the world to stop using the US dollar as the kind of pegged currency that everyone trades in. Well, the whole BRICS de-dollarization nonsense kind of faded away like usual.
Come on, you uncovered nothing. I'm no economist, and even I can see that de-dollarization is not driven by China at all, and is most certainly did not fade away. In case you didn't know, it is driven by the US unilaterally using the dollar, more precisely sanctions, as a weapon. You didn't know that?
BRICS is, at the end of the day, just smoke and mirrors.
Just smoke and mirrors, you say? Let's take a look at the list of attendees for the most recent meeting. You got Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, of course, the original members. And new members that are coming on board, Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Other attendees include Algeria, Angola, Bangladesh, Belarus, Bolivia. Actually, the list is so long, I'm not going to read them all.
The new members of BRICS, like Argentina and Egypt and Saudi Arabia, they're not going to push for de-dollarization like was previously discussed. In fact, Argentina has de facto switched to using the USD since the ARS has 100% inflation. Saudi's Rial has been pegged to the USD since 1980, and Egypt has said openly that they trust the transparency of the Federal Reserve, that's the US, more than the PBOC or the Central Bank of Russia. In fact, Argentina has de facto switched to using the USD.
Actually, that is not true. Argentina has not de facto switched to using the USD. First off, even if they did, what does that have to do with China's economy failing? Nothing. It's actually unlikely that Argentina will switch to the USD. I'll tell you why. On October 22nd, they had an election in Argentina. The top two candidates for president were close enough that they will have a runoff election in a couple of days on November 17th. The two candidates that will be in the runoff are Milei on the left and Massa on the right. Milei has talked about switching to the USD. He got 30% of the vote. Massa actually got 36%, but 45% was needed, therefore the runoff. If they do switch to the USD, Argentina would effectively adopt the monetary policy of the United States, thus losing the ability to raise or lower interest rates to suit local conditions. Doesn't sound too good to me. Even if Milei were to win, only 38% of voters believe he will actually switch to USD, and 31% of his own voters don't believe he'll do it. About the runoff, voters who selected Massa or Milei in the first round are certain to continue to support their preferred candidate.
Saudi's rial has been pegged to the USD since 1980.
Saudi's rial has been pegged to the USD since 1980. Well, that's true. You're just stating a fact. I found the article you show in the video. It's nothing more than a description of the Saudi rial. Is this supposed to be one of your 1,000 cuts?
And Egypt has said openly that they trust the transparency of the Federal Reserve, that's the US, more than the PBOC or the Central Bank of Russia.
I also found the article you used about Egypt. The very first paragraph says, Egypt has been considering importing wheat in exchange for foreign currencies other than the USD, including the Indian rupee and Chinese yuan. Wow, these cuts are really hurting.
But perhaps one of the most damning pieces of evidence of China's economy shrinking and facing certain dramatic problems is Xi Jinping's darling project, the Belt and Road Initiative. The idea was basically China goes into developing countries and makes a bunch of infrastructure projects for them, and then says, look, we helped you, so you're our friend now, and they get some brownie points abroad.
I know, helping others to become friends may be foreign to the US, but maybe it's not such a bad thing.
The idea was basically...
You said the idea was, as if it has gone away. You being a supposed Chinese expert, I was surprised that you did not even mention the last Belt and Road Forum, which was held less than a month ago and was attended by 130 countries. If you want to talk about infrastructure plans using the word was, let's talk about Biden's Build Back Better. How's that going?
Stock market-wise, China can't seem to stop red lines from plummeting. Get it? Get it? Get it?
Apart from your little joke making you look really weird, this is also just fluff and not any detail of China's economy failing.
And Hong Kong is not the place where people go do business anymore, and that is a big problem for China.
300 of the world's top bankers are defying the Western media and have flown into Hong Kong this week. Check out the list of brave people who have flown in despite all this. There's BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, UBS, Barclays, HSBC, Blackstone, hundreds of others. You know, they're not just sending underlings. Many finance groups are sending their top people.
Xi Jinping, the dictator of China, his trust circle is shrinking every day. And it's really due to his own paranoia. He's reduced the talent pool of the Chinese government to a close circle of yes men who are too scared to address and rectify any problems, of which there are so many right now.
Look at this picture. How many empty seats do you see? While CCP officials are quickly shown the door when corruption is found, unlike the US government, of course, they are quickly replaced.
Infrastructure is starting to show problems as well.
Hey, that clip of the guy hitting the wall with the bottle? That looks suspiciously like a clip from one of your old videos. Probably 7 years old or more, who knows?
These massive state projects is kind of the calling card of the Chinese government. It's what they get so much credit for, but there have been cracks in the Three Gorges Dam, the largest dam in the world, skyscrapers shaking or falling apart.
Yes, cracks did appear on the Three Gorges Dam back in 2003. 1,000 cuts coming here. As for the picture of the building that shook, that's from July 2021. And not only is the building still standing, there's a bustling business inside. I've made a few videos inside that building since then.
But guess what? There's a lot more. China's been making student visas harder to get, and Indian students are coming to the US to study, growing faster than the amount of Chinese students.
The World Economic Forum reported that China had 4.7 million new STEM graduates in 2016, while India had 2.6 million. The United States, on the other hand, had 568,000. That was back in 2016, and the disparity has likely only grown since then.
In fact, I spoke to a market expert. Every client that he knows who has China exposure just asked if they can hedge it. If that's not a real world example of how bad this is getting, I don't know what is. All sources are in the description, and shout out to the people who helped with this analysis, as well as Shabby Chadwell, friend of the channel and international financial economist.
I can't wait to check out this Shabby Chadwell, international financial economist. I'll definitely be going to the links in the description to check him or her out. I don't know, is that a guy or a girl? Shabby?
The West banning sending advanced chips to China. Remember when Biden did that?
Okay, so here's the first actual cut of 1,000. Funny that it is caused by the US, eh?
China's real GDP is definitely grossly overstated, like by an insane margin.
China's GDP is grossly overstated by an insane margin. These kind of statements always give me a chuckle. First, if they give incorrect figures, how would you know that? Secondly, by an insane margin is just a stupid thing to say unless you know the actual numbers. Okay, so here's you wrapping up the big list of 1,000 cuts, providing only one small cut that China continues to overcome.
And it's kind of ironic. China is shrinking and feeling economic pain, yet they're putting all of their energy into growing influence and spending money elsewhere. Doesn't make sense, does it? It actually kind of sounds like how a supernova works. A big burst of lights and energy that causes the center to implode. So maybe China isn't shrinking, maybe China's imploding.
By the way, can I ask if there's any relation to your video and this one put out almost the same day by Falun Gong's China Insight channel? Seems a little bit suspicious to me. The bottom line, China's breakneck growth has slowed in recent years, but is still impressive. Its real GDP growth in 2023 is forecast by the International Monetary Fund to be 5.2%, compared to 1.8% in the US. Is the International Monetary Fund also grossly overstating this by an insane amount?
All sources are in the description, and shout out to the people who helped with this analysis, as well as Shabby Chadwell, friend of the channel and international financial economist.
Okay, this is from YouTube's transcript of the video. They say Shabby Chadwell, although I thought I heard you say Shabby. Let's quickly take a look at your list of sources. Scroll down. This one first. Leads to nothing. I know it looks like I'm only waiting a few seconds, but when I actually tried to go to I clicked on it, and I waited for a while to see if anything would load. Nothing did. Let's go to the next one. It merely leads to a page showing the Taiwan dollar exchange rate. The next link merely takes me to a page describing the Chinese yuan exchange rate by the same website. The next link leads to a page describing how the US sanctions on China are having a bad effect on foreign investment. Sanctions imposed not because China did something wrong, but because the US is afraid of China's growth. Your next link leads to a page describing US government bond rates. Strange. No connection to China's economy failing, apart from the money that China invested in the US. The next link takes us to a page from the same website about China government bonds. That could be related to the title of the video if you knew how to analyze the data, which I doubt you do. You certainly made no reference to it in your list of 1,000 cuts. The next one is a link to a page that has nothing to do with China's failing economy. Next, we have another page that goes nowhere. Then another page that goes nowhere. Then a link to page not found. Now a link to a page that leads to other stories. I click on the only one about China, and this story is also not a story of China's failing economy. Actually, the Chinese yuan losing value is great for exports. You can't read the full story unless you go behind the paywall, which obviously you did not. But even me as a non-international financial analyst, like Shabby Chadwell, I can figure out that this is a story about improved exports. Lastly, we have a link to, oops, page not found. Wait, what? I went down the full list of sources and there's no link for Shabby Chadwell or Shabby Chadwell. Not only was there no link, I could not find any trace of a Shabby or a Shabby Chadwell, international financial analyst, on Google. I even tried just Chadwell, no luck. I'm not saying he doesn't exist, but it doesn't seem like he exists. So now, not to forget about SideburnsZA, a few words about your video, SideburnsZA. I'm not going to get into the topic much. I just wanted to point out that one of the statements you made in the video portrays you as a terrible person.
Many of my Chinese friends have actually told me in confidence that they can't wait for Mao's elderly little red guards, the grab hags, to all go to the grave. I never disagree with them. I never disagree with them. I never disagree with them.
I know you worded it in order to meet YouTube community guidelines. But what kind of person says he can't wait for a whole generation of Chinese people to die? Just awful, a terrible person.
It's always very difficult to know or understand these parts of Chinese society since the CCP blocks and censors this information, and the opaque nature of China means that you only get to see happy dancing propaganda videos coming out of China.
I'm going to end this video questioning that statement. If the CCP blocks this information, then where did you get it? I was kind of surprised that you didn't make the claim that you saw it yourself, or even you made the video yourself last week. I did a quick search on Douyin to verify the videos of the unstoppable corn raiders. There are many, many, many videos of this, all criticizing the people who were involved. In your video, you claimed that this is an annual event. That seems very unlikely, since if it happened every year, if you were the farmer, wouldn't you put up some kind of a deterrence? Not to mention that I did not see any videos from previous years. If I made any mistakes in my reply video, the both of you are welcome to leave a comment below and I'll retract it and repost the video. Gladly.